The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
From Mallory Square in Key West to the Governor's Mansion in Tallahassee and all points beyond, you're listening to the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com, your source for all things related to the craft beer community in the Sunshine State. And now your host, Dave Butler.
Welcome to another episode of the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com. This is Dave, your host and author. Hopefully you all enjoyed Irie Jungle at Tripping Animals last weekend. I was not able to go. I always wanted to go. It just was not in the cards for me, unfortunately. But you heard last week our interview with Tripping Animals co-founder Ignacio Montenegro, and we also spoke to their sales manager Alejandro Masferrer. That clip, that was the little mini episode of episode 170, was actually taken from a much larger interview that I had done with them a couple weeks prior, and so here this is the rest of that interview. So we're going to be chatting with Ignacio and Alejandro at Tripping Animals in Doral about pretty much all sorts of great things, brewing in Doral and getting a large amount of SKUs and different packages out into the market, what they're known for. Talked a little bit about collaborations because they're very prolific collaborators. They are one of the people that I'm waiting to see. If you remember, some months ago, we interviewed over at Four Hands Brewing in St. Louis, Missouri. Four Hands, as you remember, is doing the Voltron series, a series of what will end up being 6 collaborations with 5 other breweries around the country. Tripping Animals is one of those because Ignacio is really good friends with them after having, spent a lot of time in St. Louis. That is not the only collaboration that Tripping Animals does. They do quite a bit of them. I was even drinking a collaboration with Blue Jacket as we did the interview, which I think you can find on FloridaBeerBlog.com. It's called The Lucky Cricket. Phenomenal rice lager. So enough chat. Let's get into so you can hear the rest of the interview and kind of get the full story of Tripping Animals with Ignacio Montenegro, Alejandro Masferrer. Enjoy. So I guess we have to start with the name.
Yes.
Because it's a little interesting. And I guess where did that even come from?
Yeah, it turned out to be a funny name. Tripping Animals, man. Tripping Animals was born out of, the idea of the name was born out of, we come from Venezuela.
I was going to say, because the Tripping Animal story, like so many other breweries in Miami-Dade, did not start in Miami. It started elsewhere.
Yes.
And your story started in Venezuela.
Our beautiful passion started at Venezuela, but Tripping Animals was definitely born here in Miami.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Well, let's talk about Venezuela first, because without that...
So, the name, man. So, we always wanted to do a brand related with animals. We thought that it was a good fit since we are in Florida. It's tropical, and the fauna here is beautiful, and you have the ocean, you have the Everglades, you have lakes, you have all kind of stuff.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah, so besides snow.
Or desert.
Oh, desert. That's right. So we thought that it could be a good fit for the state that we're in. And the word tripping comes from back home. For us, the word tripping, it means having fun.
Okay.
In general. We never thought that it really has something to do with psychedelic.
Yeah, I would say tripping here if you're tripping.
Yes.
So if you're tripping in Venezuela, you're just having fun. You're tripping here.
Absolutely.
You've consumed something.
Absolutely. So we decided to go with that because we did a twist on the brand too. So you can see that the animals are definitely having fun and in the most genuine way possible. So yeah, that's where the truth of the name behind the name is that.
Gotcha. So back in Venezuela, it was you. I know Daniel, who I just met earlier, and a few other partners. What was going on in Venezuela with the four of you to where you decided to open a brewery, and why was Venezuela not the place to do it?
Yeah, the reason because, we decided to do it, to start home brewing there just as a passion. And then my partners opened a nano brewery called Casa Coronarias back home. Well, nano basically was home brewing, man. And that's how all it started, man. For me, it was passion, and then we have to take different routes back then because of the situation that we were living in back home. It was a little difficult to pursue with our dream. So the situation wasn't right to build something like that. And obviously the whole country, it was very behind in craft beer. So it was something very new, which it was a great opportunity. But then the country situation and the government and all that, it made it really difficult for us. So we have to pursue for our dreams somewhere else. And myself, I flew from Venezuela to St. Louis, Missouri, where I did 5 years of college and so on. Yeah.
And so obviously Venezuela, with the situation that they have had there and are continuing to have, not the right location, not the right fit. Why was Doral the right fit? Doral specifically.
It is funny, man, because Doral it feels like home, absolutely, because it's populated with a bunch of people from Venezuela in here, which is amazing because even though we are only a 3 hours flight, it is awesome to be surrounded also by our culture here. So that definitely, it was a big help at the beginning to make this decision. And also we did a lot of talks and we talked with a lot of people from the industry from the beginning. And one of the main advice that they give us, it was to look for a warehouse with enough space for increasing capacity and everything. So the opportunity was presented here when it comes to looking for a good space, and the Doral, the city has been amazing. So we thought that it was the perfect fit for us, being also from Venezuela, and also there was another brewery already here in Doral.
Yeah, I was going to say MIA did a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So how much did you sort of lean on them to get through a lot of the municipal and county tape they had done before?
Yes, big time. We Eddie, man, that guy have been amazing with us and the whole team at MIA, so we have no words more than a thank you. They have been always extremely supportive, and they show us the way, helping us to, with every question that we have, man, they were always there for us. So it really helped the process of opening here in Doral.
And one thing that I, mentioned with them, and it sounds like it's the same with you, is with Doral, what I find interesting is that you can't just serve alcohol. You have to serve food as well. Was this a happy accident for you? It was like, oh, I guess we have to figure this out. Or was food always going to be a part of the process anyways?
No, food wasn't part of the process at the beginning. That was something that came out with the law that the city has, so we have to figure it out. But I think it was a happy problem because we are also a food lovers. So
I've been told that you were a foodie in particular, and you're excited for your new menu.
100%. We're extremely excited with what we're doing. It's been already 5 years working with other amazing people that have been here before running our kitchen. But now there is a great opportunity that we're taking over, and we're gonna do it ourselves.
Okay.
In a massive collaboration that we're doing with a local chef, also from Venezuela. Her name is Estefania Andrade, and we couldn't be more stoked to be working with her and doing this collaboration together and making a menu for the people and making a menu that goes pretty well with our beers.
I was just about to ask that because obviously when you've got a location such as this where your main focus is the beer, but you obviously have food. Naturally, the question is going to be one of pairing. It's like making the right foods to pair with the right beers. Since it is in-house, is it easier for you to do that than to have to communicate that with external?
It is definitely easier doing that, even though this is a project that we have been working for a long period of time already. So yeah, we are excited to show our audience and our guests what we have to offer now in terms of that pairing our products, our liquids with the new culinary experience that we're bringing to Doral.
And what kind of experience, what were you looking to bring? Is it very much the Venezuelan that you remember growing up? Is it more geared towards a generic audience, here in the U.S., or is it more Miami focused? What exactly were you looking to do?
To be honest, it's pretty much stuff that we honestly like to eat.
Okay, that works.
And I will say also, we obviously hear our clients and all that, which is extremely important for us, but we want to keep it to our roots. So it's going to be a great fusion, I would say Latin American fusion that we're going to have in here, since our roots are Latin American, and then also being here in the United States. I think it will be a pretty nice blend between both culture that we're gonna showcase with our new culinary experience.
And obviously, the food is one thing, but the beer's clearly the most important thing, because that is what you are producing and that's what you're sending out into the market as we speak, actually. What were the beers that you kind of enjoyed making in Venezuela, and when you decided to come here and open Tripping Animals, how much of those beers made the journey with you?
Some of them, yeah. At the beginning, we were doing some more of traditional beers, a lot of like blonde ales, pale ales. I would say we also did Belgian beers back then, which was awesome to make. We have rebrewed them during our 5 years that we're open. We have rebrewed some of them, but yeah. Now we're doing a bunch of crazy stuff, but we keep what we used to as well.
Well, let's talk about the crazy stuff for a little bit, because I think that's what you're starting to get really known for. And how do you even develop stuff like that? Because every time I pick up a Tripping Animals can, it's interesting to see the amount of adjuncts that you're throwing in there. So after a little while, it's got to be difficult to try to find those pairings and try to find those combinations.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. Yeah, we wanted to make it a fun, and we think all these beers that we're making, they're fun to make, and seeing the reactions in the clients is being amazing. Also in distribution, they have been also pursuing well. So doing all these crazy adjuncted beers that we're doing, we consider it fun, and they also come from the culinary experience that you might have into desserts or salads or anything that you can imagine. We have tried to perhaps making it into a beer without also making the traditional stuff that we make. We also do a lot of crispy beers, a lot of lagers. One of our core beers is No Mames. That is a lager.
I was going to say, it doesn't seem like it's a core beer as much as the core beer, because, not only is No Mames everywhere in terms of the actual beer itself, but your logo, and you're looking at, you talk about Florida fauna. Chihuahuas are not native here, but you've really sort of doubled down on it. Why was it I guess to start with, why a Mexican lager as kind of the big beer that you're really going for? Did that surprise you?
Yeah, we always love to drink Mexican lagers, and lagers in general, man, not just Mexicans, but we thought that the marketing side of the art and the animal that we picked for it, perhaps, also the name, we thought that it really pairs well together. So that's why we decided to go with that, and we go with the Chihuahua and call it No Mames, which means come on, in any kind of way. And we think, it was a beautiful thing. And also another core that is at that level, we'll say Sever Haze. It's our hazy IPA. And that truly represents Florida in general, man, because it's inspired in the Everglades, man. It has an alligator as the main character of that beer, and the word Ever Haze because it's a hazy IPA. And yeah, man, is Ever Haze, Everglade. We thought that it would work out.
No, that makes sense. Obviously, I would assume that the tap room is going to be the first place where you try out stuff like this. Do you have a relatively strong, relatively fast pilot system here, so where you can try out as many different adjuncts as you possibly can? Or what's generally the process for something like that for you?
Sadly enough, we don't have a pilot system yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're just aiming as it comes. Obviously, there are opportunities that we do a smaller batch that we can try, perhaps. We don't can it. We just do a draft. And that also helps. But for the majority of the beers that we make, is a exclusive one-off, and it's the first try, and we go from there. And then we obviously study the reaction of the market, and if it's something that really that people were interested on it and people really enjoy it, that's something that we'll consider of rebrewing again.
That's kind of awesome. And one of the other things that has always been interesting to me is not so much that you distribute, but how many different beers you distribute. And especially if you go to your better bottle shops and your better beer locations, obviously No Mames will be there almost always, but it seems like there's always something new. Is that difficult to keep up with, the amount of differentiation, the amount of new styles that it seems like people are starting to expect from Tripping Animals?
Yes. For us, it's a process of always bringing a new experience to the client. Beer is obviously the most important thing, but we understand that, and our main focus have been always the core beers, and we distro the core beers everywhere, but we love to always keep something exciting and something new, like a specialty beers. That's how we call them. So those are the ones that we do, and we love to do collaborations with other breweries. That's a beauty of this industry, that we are able to get into projects with different breweries among the globe. So yeah, the idea is to always have something new to offer beside the course for distribution and also for our tasting room.
The tasting room is obviously pretty easy, but when it comes to distribution, how difficult is it to talk to your distributors and be like, here's, 3 new SKUs, and when you come back, you're going to have 4 new ones, and then, next month we're going to have another 3 SKUs. Is it difficult to persuade them to keep rotating the stock on the shelves that they stock and at the retailers that they go to for your products?
Yeah, it's definitely a hazard, but I think with enough good communication and keeping in touch with our distributors, it makes it easy. With their help, it's been amazing. And again, every time there is something new that we have to offer, I think it's exciting. So that also helps. And yeah, beer calendars, sell sheets.
So what a lot of this stuff is going to be well in advance. It's not just, it's April. Hey, let's make this new beer that'll come out in May.
No, there is a process of, meetings that we go through, a lot of thoughts that we put into it, organization, making sure from the recipe to the communication that we have with our distributor is well thought out and is well communicated though.
And do you have a lot of patrons that will come in here on a fairly regular basis looking for the new thing, looking for what have you changed, what is different this week?
We have a lot of locals and a lot of regulars that, some of them usually keeps to their beers that they love. Let's say either No Mames or Ever Haze or Limonada Rosada, which is another sour that we make, and it's also a core beer that we make.
I was going to say, that's a series, the Limonada Rosada.
Yeah, there is a series. That's a series, but Limonada Rosada is the beauty of that series. So,
which is basically
because we brew it all year round.
Mm-hmm. I would assume, not knowing Spanish very well, Limonada Rosada, pink lemonade.
100%.
All right, so there we go. So a lot of it depends on what you can throw in there.
Yes.
Nice. Obviously, I would assume, being from a culinary background, that a lot of seasonality has to affect these beers. I know you've got a couple of strawberry beers that are on tap, it being strawberry season here in Florida.
Yes. We have done a few strawberry beers lately because we partnered up with a local farm, the Berry Farm in Homestead. So we were able to get some fresh and amazing strawberries from them.
Good.
So we were able to brew different strawberry beers, counting even one of them, which was fantastic. I really enjoyed that one. It was Everhaze. It was a variation of Everhaze, our hazy IPA, conditioned with strawberries from Florida.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I almost hate to say this because I've heard chefs talk about this, is that they will take a look at what's in season and build their menu around that.
100%.
So that's what you'll do with the beers?
Same thing, yeah. For example, dragon fruit is one of them that sometimes there is no season for dragon fruit, so we understand that we cannot use it during that time. So we focus on, we plan our beer calendar also towards the freshest ingredients that we can get, so we can make our beers with that.
Gotcha. How much do you spend in a normal month on artwork? Because each one of these cans, these are not simple cans. This is not just quickly going into Canva and changing out the words.
That is an everyday thing.
Every single one of these has a different, let's be honest, work of art on there.
Thank you, man. Yeah, as mentioned before, art for us is a big part of our Tripping Animals world, and we are lucky enough to be able to work with an art director. His name is David Leon. He has been working with us since before we opened. So we created that brand identity pretty well, I would say, thanks to him. And yeah, that's a work that doesn't stop. It works it's on a daily basis, especially that we're always releasing new stuff as we speak.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because you're not the only organization like this where you have a single art director. Unseen Creatures comes to mind. And if you've seen a lot of their work, it's very, very similar. It's like you can immediately take a look at the artwork and go, yes, that is most definitely Unseen Creatures. It looks like an Unseen Creatures beer. And it's very clearly going to be them. So I would probably ask, when it comes to that label art, when it comes to that visual style, does it make it easier to come in with a new SKU to a location to where you can immediately say, like, look, you know exactly who this is, you know what kind of quality this is going to be, what kind of product you're going to get?
Yeah, so definitely our brand is something that people recognize immediately. Number one, the animals, and number two, what stands out a lot is the lazy eye on the animals. That's also our logo.
Okay, so the logo is oh, okay, I see it now. I see it now.
Yeah, just like a little half sleepy.
Okay, okay.
We'll call it sleepy.
We'll call it sleepy. There we go.
But yeah, that really jumps out to people that on the shelf. You can clearly point out what our 4-packs are, definitely. And like in bottle stores or grocery stores, it always really stands out a lot.
Do you ever have to fight exhaustion? It's like, oh no, here's another Tripping Animals beer that I have to learn and sell, and different than I've ever seen before and will never see again.
No, I'm always actually excited for the artwork that Ignacio and his team puts together. And I'm always excited to see what kind of fruit combination we can come up with. Hops, sometimes I have some input on that and I help out with some ideas as well. Being on the sales side, I kind of can see what the market is asking for or, is in need of. And I'm glad I can help in that aspect of it. That way I don't really get bored or get exhausted, as you said.
Well, I was going to say, how much input do you have listening to the consumers, listening to the retailers and distributors, to where you'll hear, oh, this is what's happening, here's what's coming in, and then going to Ignacio and saying, hey, we need to take a look at this, whatever this is, this adjunct or this style or something.
Oh, how much input do I have? Ignacio?
A big thing.
Yeah. No, we pretty much have like a meeting where we all talk about the beers that are coming out and all that. And it's kind of dynamic. Sometimes some months we need to move things around or switch or move a beer to a following month because it's summer or it's spring or it's winter. We might need darker beers during the winter, during the fall. And then during the summer and spring, we need like lighter beers. So for an example, we have a new beer that's going to be fun and exciting. It's called Sunrise Wheats. We have done a wheat ale before, but this is going to be a wheat orange beer, and this is something that I had brought up to the team and saying we need like a summer beer to really bring consumers to our brand as well.
Yeah, 100%. And as I was saying before, also talking about the freshest ingredients that we can get, as we did with the strawberries. It's a strawberry season, so we were able to get some fantastic strawberries from our friend from Berry Farm in Homestead. So that's also play a big role every time we have these meetings and organizing our beer calendars and talking about all these beers that we're going to start brewing in the next quarter or the next few months. That plays a big role.
Have you ever been surprised by one of your suppliers to be like, hey, we've got this thing, and you have no idea what it is, but you'll bring it back and be like, let's play with this, and kind of go to a completely different direction that you had not anticipated?
That's not my department. I don't handle the fruits or the hops. That's production.
But do any of the suppliers, any of the distributors be like, hey,
I'm sure they have, yeah. Hey, we have this new stuff, or we were able to get this new adjuncts.
Also seasons,
yeah, 100%. Yeah, as I was saying, with the strawberries, it's about the season. So yeah, and as well with the other fruits, the dragon fruit, I was saying too, like that's also, season. Yeah, that's a heavy season fruit. So that's something that we take in consideration for sure. But yeah, I would say, again, I don't know, man. We have experience with a lot of different crazy beers that I would say is hard for me right now to recall if there is any specific one that our provider was like, hey, we have this, check it out. But I'm sure that it has happened for sure.
Would you say that your place in the marketplace and what you are known for are the crazy beers, are super fruited sours and smoothies and whatnot?
If I show up to a beer festival without a sour, people immediately are like, why didn't you have a sour?
Yeah.
why do you have such a crispy lager and an IPA? Yes, we're heavily known originally. I feel like for our sours, that's where we got our notoriety from. But I think over the years, we've proved that we can do really well in the IPA game, and we can do really well in the lager game, and definitely our barrel-aged stouts as well.
And that's what I was going to mention, because the big one for you, with the artwork on the wall, is still No Mames, and it's not one of those kinds of beers. It's a very simple Mexican lager. It's a fantastic Mexican lager, absolutely, and it seems like it is bucking the trend of what you are known for. So is that a difficult sell, or does it amaze you how well that beer does in your portfolio?
So No Mames being one of our core beers is something I always lead with, and we have a great price point on it for our distributors. So that way, that great price point is passed down to our customers, our consumers. But selling the LTOs is also fun. Aside from the No Mames, I think people are always excited to see new LTOs, but we always try to lead with the No Mames, and also the Everhaze being our core. Our Everhaze actually does better outside in the market than the No Mames.
Interesting.
No Mames does extremely well here in the tap room, but hazy IPAs is still like a great leading force for us.
Gotcha. One thing I've also been interested in is I've never seen a 12-ounce can come out of Tripping Animals.
That's something, sorry to interrupt, but that's something that is in
the works.
In the works?
Really?
In conversations, at least, I would say. But yeah.
I was going to say, is craft beer, it seems like craft beer has moved away from the 12-ounce and is almost exclusively in the 16-ounce tall boy in a lot of ways.
I think it's coming full circle.
Really?
And I think eventually a lot of people will be going back to 12-ounce.
And besides that, also like us being here in Miami, I think it's a great opportunity for a 12 ounces, because going to the beach it goes pretty great with a 12-ounce can, and we have that in consideration too. So just expect that we have that in conversations right now. Nothing is said and done yet, but there could be possibilities of seeing Tripping Animals one day in 12 ounces cans.
What about the 22-ounce bomber? Because that's basically, you're shaking your head no. But it's like, talk about, when we started this a long time ago.
Stovepipes, right?
Yeah, exactly. And now I can't think of anybody that's releasing them.
Yeah, I mean, those are stadium-style cans, I feel. So unless you're like really distributing a lot to stadiums, personally, that's what I think. I don't think those 22-ounce cans are really something that should be made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You had mentioned a lot about collaborations. In fact, I'm drinking a collaboration with
Blue Jacket. It's a Lucky Cricket. It's a rice lager.
That's amazing.
Japanese
But
rice
you have
lager.
so many collaborations. So I guess I'd love to talk about how you start that, because I would assume, unless there's somebody huge like, Trillium shows up, hey, let's do a beer, you would want to do a certain vetting process. How do you start the process of collaborating, and what is it that you really try to look for from a collaboration?
I think it's a thing about friendship mostly at the beginning, and getting well together, and then obviously you have to make sense when it comes to a collaboration, because obviously friendship plays a big role, but also values and identity is important for us. So if that match with our vision and with our identity, that's something that we would definitely consider of doing a collaboration with another brewery, which me personally, I think is one of the beauty of this industry, is that we're able to collab with other breweries, be able to know their culture, know their beers, also learn from them is an important fact for us. So sharing knowledge is definitely a thing, and yeah, I would say that.
I was going to say, so for example, how much of this beer is you? How much of it is Blue Jacket? How much of it is you both literally starting from scratch and trying to learn as a whole?
Well, I mean, Iggy handles most of the emails between that. So I believe that one was a virtual one, the first one originally.
Yes.
Blue Jacket one, for example.
Yeah, we have done one. I think we have brewed that one twice here.
Yeah.
And we have done a few collabs with Blue Jacket over at their location in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I would say it's a 50-50. Obviously, what is brewed here is brewed here. It's not there. But,
exactly.
but I would say that we perhaps might have a little bit bigger of percentage on the process. But it will definitely share and receive a lot of knowledge from the other brewers that we're collabing with, and we try to apply that, because we also consider that it's also fun to make it a twist of what we have been doing, and also try different ways of brewing our beers.
Gotcha. How much of it, who you are collaborating with, has an effect on whether you put it out into the market and how much you try to push? Obviously, without saying names, but some names will be bigger than others. And if you say, oh, we're with, Brewery X, oh, everybody knows Brewery X, everybody likes them, so they'll try that beer. Whereas Brewery Y, while they're phenomenal people and a great brewery, doesn't have quite as much clout here in South Florida. We'll do stuff in the tap room, and that's kind of where it's going to stay.
Well, everything we produce goes into distro. So even it's X or Y or Z or anybody, they're going out to distro.
Everything that is in cans, mostly, because stouts, that's something that we exclusivity keeps for the tasting room for the most part, unless there is like a special event going out there in the market that we consider also putting our stouts out there. But I would say like 90% or 90 something percent of the beers
just
that
not
we
the
make.
stouts.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so anything that we brew here goes in cans and goes in kegs, goes into the tap room, and then goes into distribution all over Florida, where our distributor covers, and then whichever other states carry our beer as well that pick it up.
Gotcha. And of course, all those collaborations and friendships play very heavily when it comes to events such as Irie Jungle. Which, as we were recording, is going to be coming up pretty soon. That's pretty much your signature event. That's kind of your big annual.
Yeah.
None of you get sleep for 2 weeks leading up.
About that, yes, I would say.
So I guess give us a high-level overview for some of us who have never been to Irie Jungle as to not only what it is, but what you try to create with an event such as that.
So Irie Jungle, I want to say it's not just a beer festival, it's more of an experience. You're going to come in here, and yes, we have obviously plenty of breweries. We're going to have about 80 breweries this year.
Oh my gosh, where do you fit them all?
So we actually take over now of the parking lot next door as well. And then here where we're at right now in the garden, we have breweries in here as well. And then we have also a back room where we have the pool table. Move the pool table out of the way, put breweries in there as well. And then we have our taps filled. Aside from the breweries, we have live music. This year we're having 3 acts.
3 acts, yeah.
The one main act is Johnny Dreads. He's here every year. We also have coffee vendors that come and do coffee as well.
Coffee.
Yeah, because we do collaborations. For example, today we're actually treating a beer with Fincas coffee and
Specialty coffee, yeah.
a specialty coffee. So they were here for our other event, Skip the Line, and are they the ones going to do for Irie?
They did skip the line, and they have done Irie last year,
did Irie last year.
and this year they're also doing Irie, and perhaps it's obviously it's beer oriented, but we always wanted to add more to the experience and stuff that we like, such as coffee,
And natural
wine,
wines. Yeah.
seltzers, natural wines, and food.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I would assume, is it kind of a one admission ticket and you'll be able to sample all of those different
Yes.
things? Which is amazing that you do that with the food.
The food, no. I'm sorry.
Oh, with the
Not
food? No? Okay. Oh, there we go. Gotcha.
Food are individual vendors, and then they sell their food. But for Skip the Line, which is the other event we do, it is one ticket, all you can drink, all you can eat, which is
100%.
an event that we do September, October.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
And I would assume the weather's a little bit nicer in September, October. Well, I don't know. It's
Little
South
more
Florida. Yeah.
But that one's mostly inside.
And with events like this, how often do you think you are getting people that are really trying to explore? You know, especially like you mentioned with the coffee and the wine. It's like, it's not necessarily somebody that wants to just get plastered. They actually want to learn and they want to discover something new.
Yeah, all the time. We have people that have their notebooks, and
Really?
Yeah, they have their notebooks. They come, they try the beer, they'll take a picture of it, they'll write a little note about it. They write the notes because sometimes they'll remember at the end of the day what they drank and how much of it they drank. And then we got a lot of appreciation for the coffee. You know, when people are coming in, maybe they might be tired from the night before stuff, and the wine as well. Like, there's some people that come in here, they may not be a huge beer fan, but love the option of having wines as well.
And it's kind of amazing. Obviously, it being on April 20th is no mere coincidence, I would assume.
What do you mean?
So obviously, we've got the new food that's coming in. Your distribution game is incredibly strong, which is where you were for a little while getting that stuff sent out.
Yeah, filling up a truck right now.
Are you? Where are you going from here? Are you pretty well good, and you've got so much going on that you're not going to be going crazy, or are there big future plans coming up for Tripping Animals?
Yeah, there is a lot in the plate. I mean, we definitely want to keep Tripping growing, and yeah, it's a lot in the table. A lot
in the
of
kitchen right now.
number one is the kitchen right now is our main one, but we're always looking for opportunities for satellite locations. So that's something that we keep in mind, and we always wanted to do.
Definitely growth and expansion.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the satellite location, opening up new states. We're distributing now. We distribute to about 24 states now, and we're doing some exporting. I got some stuff going out to Sweden pretty soon. We have some other stuff going out to Netherlands, UK, probably like in a month or two. And yeah, I mean, as much as we can get out there, we're going to do.
Yeah, being the main focus, obviously, Florida, and South Florida being the main thing for us, that's where we distro the most, and obviously trying to cover our local market and our people, and yeah, as first.
I do find that interesting, especially when it comes to other states and definitely other countries. How do you determine, first and foremost, what product you're going to send? Like, what is that process like? Because I know for some states like Texas, for example, it's not easy to send a beer into there. It's rather expensive. So how do you determine, what's the process for determining whether it's even worth your time?
Yes, that is actually a good question. There is some states that are very, very difficult to register. A lot of annual fees and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's a conversation that you have with the distributor. You see how much volume they're planning on bringing in, and then from there you start making decisions if it's worth it or not to work with that state in particular.
That's amazing. And then the other countries, like, how do you even start that process? Because I would assume now you're looking at importation laws, which, going from interstate scares me anyways, but going across the ocean is it's a whole different beast.
Yeah, I mean, luckily we were able to have a compliance department that handles that kind of paperwork. But for out of the country, it's usually because they reach out to us or we are invited to a certain festival, and that way we take advantage and we'll send some for the rest of the area that's going to be where the festival is going to be at.
I was going to say, what hits big over in Europe, for example? Are they a big strawberry limonada? Or Limonada Rosada? Oh,
they love the LTOs, and yeah, Limonada Rosada is a good one over there. Everhaze as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess when you go over there to festivals, when you go over there to distributors, what is it like? Say, yeah, we're from Miami-Dade.
A lot of people's reaction is, I can't believe you traveled all this way. A big person that handles a lot of the events in Europe is Ignacio's brother, Fernando.
Fernando, yes. He's based in Amsterdam.
Okay.
In the Netherlands, and yeah, my brother, he's a European chapter.
Yeah.
Does this mean that we're looking at maybe building an Amsterdam-based Tripping Animals tap room?
That is not in the conversations for sure, but there is always dreams,
Yeah. Obviously, thank you both so much for your time. I do have to end with this because that I spoke to Kevin Limp.
Yes.
That Four Hands was on the podcast already.
Yes.
When is your Voltron coming out?
There have to be talks with them to brew here. That hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
But I know our Voltron there is coming anytime soon. I wouldn't say more than 2-3 months, if I'm not mistaken, from the last time I talked to him.
Yeah, I think they said something about summer or late summer this year when we spoke last year.
Something like that. So
that series is amazing. I love the art on it.
Yeah.
I mean, coming from an old anime fan.
Well, exactly. It's amazing. I feel like that series is similar to what you're trying to do, is that kind of instant brand recognition, that immediate, I know, and I want to try that just because I know what that is, and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually just released 2 beers that are inspired into Godzilla and King Kong.
One's called Gojira, and obviously the Godzilla one, and then the King of Beasts is the King Kong one. Put the cans side by side and completes one full image.
Really?
Yeah. Since we wanted, it's a word. Well, in homage of the movie that's going to be coming out within the next month, I believe.
Yeah. I just saw the trailer for that today, and I'm a big Godzilla fan. So I saw that. I'm like, oh, there we go.
I'll give us one to take home.
Oh, nice. Thank you. And I do have to ask this only because I know that No Mames is so big for you, and I know that you've sort of doubled down on your Chihuahua friend. Does he have a name?
No Mames.
Oh, that's just his name.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, man.
Brother.
Thank you for coming all the way to Doral.
Of course.
Cheers to that.
That is the end of an interview that I have wanted to do for years. And it's funny, Ignacio and I have basically gone back and forth 4 years trying to get this scheduled. And here it is. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. Next week, we will be staying in Doral, Florida. And if you know anything about the breweries in Doral, Florida, you know where we're going next, which really isn't that far away from Tripping Animals, which was kind of nice. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to follow us on our social media channels. We are on Blue Sky and X and Threads and Instagram as at Florida Beer Blog. Facebook's the different one. We're at FL Beer Blog there. I'm not totally sure I remember why that happened. We are on the internet at floridabeerblog.com and floridabeerpodcast.com. And you can also email us at floridabeerblog@gmail.com. You can find our podcast pretty much everywhere on Amazon Music, Apple Music. Can't do Google Podcasts anymore because that's been delisted. YouTube and Spotify. And heck, if you have a smart device like Alexa, just ask Alexa to play the Florida Beer Podcast and my dulcet tones will show up. The other place where you'll find us is on the Florida Podcast Network, a great collection of Florida-based podcasts from around the Sunshine State. And you can find more information about them at floridapodcastnetwork.com. If you are listening to us on a podcasting app, make sure to like and subscribe and tell your friends, especially if you can leave a 5-star review. That would be greatly appreciated and helps us get the word out about Florida beer. Our intro announcer is Jeff Brozovich. Field producer is Steve Pekala. Executive producer for the Florida Podcast Network and Grand High Poobah is Jemmy Legagneur. This is David Butler, your host and author, signing off, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening, and drink Florida Craft.